Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with some more geography now. This time we're on the Comoros. No, I feel like I said that wrong. Before we dive into the video, make sure you go check out the links below in the description box, or actually, no, maybe I left a pinned comment. I don't even know. Maybe I remembered to do it this time. Who the fuck knows? Anyways, let's dive in.
So, as you guys know, you guys, the geography peeps, usually help us write the scripts for these episodes for your countries. However, I couldn't find anybody from Comoros, so I got
Comoros. Got it.
the next best thing. Say hi to my friend, Nick!
Hey guys.
Nick is from Mauritius.
Yeah, I really don't know anything about Comoros though, Paul.
Shut up, Nick.
It's time to learn geography.
Now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie. Comoros, Africa's moon islands, named after the Arabic word Comor, meaning moon. And you know what else has moons on it? The flag!
Moon flag! Who does have
The current flag of
colorful
Comoros was designed and adopted in 2002 and has an interesting story behind it. First of all, the hoist side has a green triangle pointing right with a white crescent and 4 white stars inside of it. The triangle overlaps 4 stripes of yellow, white, blue, and red. Each of the 4 stars and 4 stripes corresponds to an island in the Comoros archipelago. Yellow for Moheli, red for Anjouan, blue for Grand Comore, and white for Mayotte, even though Mayotte doesn't really consider it part of Comoros. This is where the family drama comes in. Let's explain in...
Oh, yeah.
I like to call these islands the dinosaur head islands because all the islands are kind of shaped like hadrosaur skulls. I'm just saying. One thing you have to understand
That is such an oddly specific dinosaur, Paul.
is that when it comes to administration, Comoros is basically like a tropical African soap opera. First of all, the country is an archipelago of islands located in the Indian Ocean at the northern end of the Mozambique Channel off the eastern coast of Africa right above Madagascar. The capital is Moroni. No, not the angel Moroni from the Book of Mormon, Moroni, which translates to the heart of fire, possibly named that way because of its proximity to a volcano. Now let's have some fun. If you ever talk to somebody from Comoros, chances are they'll tell you that the country has 4 islands, Mayotte totally belonging to them. But if you talk to somebody from Mayotte, they'll tell you that they are French and that Comoros is just being clingy. Basically, it all just happened like this. Okay guys, all in favor of becoming independent from France?
Aye.
Nah, I'm good. I'll just stay French.
Are
Seriously?
you serious?
The main islands of the country, which go by both French and Comorian names, are Grand Comore or Ngazija, Anjouan or Nzwani, and Moheli or Mwali. During the move for independence in 1974, Mayotte or Maore voted against independence and to this day remains as an overseas department and region of France. The Comorian government to this day still rejects the referendum because, hey, referendums are basically just a way for a bunch of people to agree on being wrong on the same thing, right? On top of that, Comoros also lays claim to some of the Îles Éparses de l'Océan Indien, or the scattered islands in the Indian Ocean. Yeah, they kind of got bored and just got generic with that title. Islands like the Glorioso Islands, including Grand Glorious and Île de Lys, or the Lily Island, as well as 6 small islets and Banc du Geyser, a submerged reef with a barely elevated empty sandbar that is incredibly difficult to get to. Challenge accepted! The largest and most populous island is Grand Comore, located in the west, which hosts the capital as well as the seat of national government. However, it's a little more complicated than that. The second largest island, Anjouan, and the smallest, least populated Moheli Island each have a strange federation autonomy which gives them a little more loose incorporation with the government. They partially self-govern themselves with their own constitutions, parliaments, and governors. However, to keep things fair, the union president that resides over the entire country rotates between islands. So that means the next president has to come from a different island from the previous one.
Oh. Huh. That's a neat... That's a neat idea.
Aside from the 3 main islands, you have quite a few islets, especially found off the southern coast of Little Moheli, and a bunch of sandbars and reefs, especially found off of the Bimini Peninsula on Anjouan. Cool
Panini Peninsula. Did he say that? Is that what he said?
Moheli, and a bunch of sandbars and reefs, especially found off of the Bimini Peninsula on Anjouan.
Panini? Is that saying panini or banini? I think.
Cool sites include the gritty harbor by Old Friday Mosque on Grand Comore Island, Mutsamuru Citadel on Anjouan, and the country's only national park, Moheli Marine Park, located on Moheli, packed with sea turtles and tropical fish, perfect for diving. I feel like this video is kind of turning into one of those cheesy resort videos like, welcome to Comoros, where your tropical dream destination awaits you. Well, let's see if this country lives up to those resort standards, shall we? So the Comoros Islands are kind of green and lush. I mean, when your island is made from volcanoes, you pretty much have prime dibs on first-rate soil. Nonetheless, they still do have their individual contrasts. First of all, because of the way how the islands were formed, all three islands kind of lack good harbor zones for ships. This is because unlike other island nations like Seychelles or Sri Lanka, Comoros lacks an immediate continental shelf or at least an elevated underwater plateau to foster safe docking spots. This makes transport, business, and communication relatively more difficult than other island nations. On top of that, the islands are quite active in volcanic activity. In fact, if you look at the northern slope of Grand Comore, you can see several dozen extinct volcano calderas that freckle the entire landscape, making it look like the country has bad acne.
Shut up! It's just my hormones!
Grand Comore is also home
I feel that. Feel that.
to one of the most active volcanoes in the world, the highest point, Mount Carthala, which erupted more than 20 times in the past century alone. There used to be a lake in the caldera, but then in 2005, the volcano erupted again and completely destroyed it. Let me repeat that. The volcano effectively evaporated an entire lake. Anjouan is interesting.
But was it a big, like if it's just like a small lake, then it's not that impressive. But if it's like a relatively decently sized lake, then that's pretty impressive.
In that it's kind of shaped like a triangle. This is because the three mountain chains, the Sim, the New Makele, and the Jimilime, meander outwards from the central peak, the Mitingi. As mentioned before, the island also has the best reefs off of its coast. Moheli is the smallest and least developed of the islands, which gives it the opportunity to exploit its vast nature zones, giving it the unofficial title of being the cleanest island. Overall, the islands have a physical makeup that sort of resembles that of Madagascar, in which you can find similar plants like tropical hardwoods, mangroves, palms, and fruit trees. Some of the animals are unique to the islands, like the incredibly rare Livingstone fruit bat with a wingspan nearly 2 meters long, one of the largest in the world, which can only be found on Anjouan and Moheli. Can you imagine this guy in your backyard? Yeah, and wait till we get to the Philippines episode. Less than half the land at about 45% is arable, and lots of the food still has to be imported since domestic production doesn't meet the food demand. Nonetheless, Comoros still has a few agricultural tricks up their sleeves. They've utilized their tropical surroundings to their advantage and capitalized on harvesting some of the most expensive products in the world. To this day, Comoros is the world's largest producer of the rare ylang ylang flower, which is used in perfumes and fragrances, meeting up to 80% of the entire world's market. Finally, almost every Comoran either fishes or knows somebody who fishes. You can expect a lot of soups, stews, and curries that incorporates fish or shellfish cooked in interesting ways, like the langouste à la vanille or lobster broiled in vanilla sauce. Man, for a country with so many internal squabbles, these people really know how to eat. Let's discuss
that look real good. Shit, I'm hungry now.
what these people are like. Okay, so Comoros is one interesting country when it comes to populace. Because of its history, almost everybody on the entire island has a complex racial mixture. First of all, not including Mayotte, the country has about 800,000 people, and even though it's the second smallest African country in land area, it's the fourth most densely populated in Africa. At about 97%, the vast majority of people on the island identify as Comoran, and the rest are a mixture of all types of people groups like the Malagasy, the Indian, the white French, and even a few Chinese people have settled into the country as well. Now here's where I kind of want to elaborate a little more on what a Comoran is. Comorans have deep roots in multiple people groups. Archaeologists speculate that originally the islands were settled by Bantu peoples from African mainland areas somewhere around the 6th century AD. However, some argue it could be as early as the 1st century. This technically makes Comoros one of the few African overseas colonies originally settled by Africans, which is kind of cool. I mean, remember the last time we talked about something like that? Over time,
I remember getting tricked, you motherfucker.
Arabs came over and then they brought along the Malay, and by golly gosh, the French got mixed in somehow, and to this day, the average Comoran has roots in at least 2 or more of these people groups. So yes, that means that many Comorans may even have Southeast Asian blood in them. That's pretty crazy. The country has 3 official languages, Comorian, French, and Arabic, and most people are proficient in at least 2, if not all 3 of these languages. As a Bantu language, Comorian closely resembles Swahili and is sometimes considered a dialect. From an early age, kids are taught Arabic from Quranic schools. However, Comorian is more widely spoken, and French is the language of business and government. Culture-wise, the country holds fast to tradition. The majority of the population, at about 96%, adheres to a branch of Sunni Islam under the Shafti school of jurisprudence. Other faiths are also still technically allowed to exist, but are heavily discouraged and restricted. Nonetheless, Islam in Comoros doesn't really follow your typical Middle Eastern style format. Most women don't even wear hijabs regularly unless maybe it's a formal occasion, and they might wear the traditional shiromani. You can also spot a lot of the women wearing the traditional nzinzanu paint mask made out of sandalwood and coral, as it acts as a natural sunblock and it really exfoliates the skin. Now, the Comoran account
Really?
Is kind of struggling at the moment. It typically ranks in the bottom of the worldwide GDP index. This is partially attributed to the fact that there's a huge age gap. About half of the entire population is 15 or under. For assistance, most people are heavily dependent on remittance money sent from relatives living abroad. About 400,000 Comorans live abroad, 200,000 of which live in France alone. This also includes the Comorans that migrate to neighboring Mayotte in hopes of finding more work and quality of life. About a quarter of Mayotte's population are Comoran, and as a half-open backdoor to the EU, the GDP is about 9 times higher than that of Comoros, with free healthcare and education benefits. Mahorans and Comorans, Mahorans and Comorans, they're coming down the stairs. You British people know what I'm talking about. Anyway, Mahorans and Comorans have a long history and similar culture that goes back centuries. Of course, they were all under the same sultanate at one point, and then under French protectorate status, and then finally when it came to independence, Mayotte was like,
Nah, you guys go ahead. I'd rather be French.
it's funny because Nick's actually from the UK and I made him say that. Ha! Now here's the thing, even though the country is relatively new and even though they are a federal presidency, they've had about 20 military coups since independence, realized or not. The first disputably fair election didn't even happen until 2006. On top of that, Anjouan and Moheli declared their own independence from Comoros in 1997, trying to reinstate the French rule, but France was like, nah, I'd rather just keep Mayotte. Which totally threw them off, inciting a confusing period of conflict for 4 years until in 2001, with the help of the African Union, they decided to reconcile back to Comoros but have autonomous status. So as you can see, Comoros has had enough internal tension as it stands. Now let's see how they stand on the world stage. Now, even though Comoros has had a lot of drama with a relatively short period of time since independence, they've pretty much been bombarded with diplomatic missions all over the world. One thing you should know is that Comoros is the southernmost member of the Arab League. In a sense, Comoros has always had some kind of tie to the Arab world since they were colonized by Arabs in the early 7th century onward to the Arab slave trade times, and to this day, Libya and Qatar are probably the closest friends in the league. Libya played a role in the conflicts after independence, and to this day sends various humanitarian missions with medical specialists to the country. Qatar has not only been close for a while, but recently has been investing heavily in the Comoran fishing industry and has opened up jobs for many Comorans. They're also part of the Indian Ocean Commission, which includes Madagascar and Seychelles.
And Mauritius.
Yes, Nick, and Mauritius, which administers trade and cooperation agreements between the 4 countries. When it comes to their best friends, though, they might begrudgingly say France. Yes, they have the drama with Mayotte, and yes, they did declare independence, but they can't deny the fact that France has such a significant relationship with them, and it still lingers today. France is the largest aid provider, trade partner, diplomatic engager, and even trainer of their army. Comorans might hate to admit it, but without France, they would probably look a lot different and not in a good way. In conclusion, Comoros is kind of like a group of quadruplets in which 3 are chastising 1 for getting married to a brother-in-law that they hate admitting that they kind of approve of. Stay tuned.
That was very oddly specific, Paul.
Congo, the Democratic Republic, is coming up next.
Alright, that was Geography Now Comoros. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was an okay episode. I wasn't all that interesting in my opinion. I just think it's because, I don't know, it felt like, I don't know. Just didn't appeal to me that much this time around. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.